Good evening, Creative Habit. My name is Quabino McGaniose, a senior here at VCU in the Robertson School, who will be graduating in just 4 days. Just 4 days in public relations. Unfortunately, I did not pick out a minor. I think by the time I realized I was interested in having a minor, I think it was a little too late, and I figured I would just keep on pushing with what had already decided I was interested in. But I was very excited to be able to record this final, as I believe one of the things I probably would have majored in is definitely either photography or sociology. Photography, sociology, or psychology. And so digital content creation and videography and photography, really those three things have really interested me in the past 2.5 years. And so really any assignment and any opportunity I get to enforce and employ those skills, I enjoy. I think it's a great alternative way to to get just as much information out, but in a more personal way. Obviously, writing comes with lots of heartfelt and heartstring and melancholy moments, but I also think being able to look at someone's face and see them in the eye and know what they're thinking also helps. And so to get into this quick, I decided 1 year plan. Um, Speaking of which, I thought was perfect. I think considering the time of year it is, we're already in mid-December, and so I think having a 1 year outlook, essentially telling myself how I want my 2025 to go, I think is the perfect range. Um, and so I think I'm going to start with space for first topic out of five, where space this year I really, again, it was mind boggling to see how much of a difference moving into a new apartment made on my mental health. And so it's been, what, 5 months since I've been here. And then obviously by July, it'll have been a full year. And so by the end of, I guess, 7 months, I'd like to see how my space has continued to shape my mentality, continue to shape my physical health as well. I've told myself that I've started to do some home workouts, and then I also want to get some free weights and be able to work out. And so I know that this space will also become a place for me to build myself up physically and keep my health up. Alongside that, my nutrition. Nutrition was also something that I was glad to relearn about this year. Again, especially when it came to learning about eating habits and making sure that your palate was diverse so that you're getting as a large range of nutrients as needed to sustain your body and your muscles, and to lubricate your joints and to make sure your tendons are staying well connected. I think it's so easy to forget that the things you consume and put into your body are having effects, maybe slow, but having true effects on your body and the way you think. And so I've always enjoyed cooking, but I've really made sure that I'm going grocery shopping often enough so that I have food to cook, and it doesn't get to the end of the workday and the end of the evening. I'm like, oh, I still haven't eaten today, but I don't have anything to cook, or I do have something to cook, but it's too late to feel like cooking. And then I'll just get on DoorDash because it's simply that easy. And so I think cutting out the extracurricular food, driving on the way home and seeing something that looks or smells nice, deciding not to stop, accepting the fact that you have grocery shopped, and if you have not grocery shopped, to go grocery shopping, and so that you can eat at home and avoid stopping on the way home and eating out, or again having it get too late and feeling like, oh, well, I've done all my work, I don't feel like doing anything but eating, and just waiting that extra 30-40 minutes for the food to come. And then as well as, I think, the timing of the eating too. I think if I'm able to eat before 9 o'clock, it definitely it allows me to go to bed not hungry, obviously. And I think it would be better in the long run for my diet. So I know that's something for 2025 I've definitely have been looking forward to, as well as already encompassing, like I said, I think basically the last month I've really gotten back into cooking and pulling out my cutting board. I bought cutting boards before moving here because I enjoyed cooking. So I have the cutting boards, I have the lives. I have the skill and the intellect and the preparation and the materials to cook. All it takes is the will to cook. And again, hopping back on, how much of a nutritional value it's going to have, I know it'll be even more easy to do. In juxtaposition, or not in juxtaposition, but in conjunction with, using my space to work out. And then that also encompasses movement as well, on the other hand, as well as being just starting my new full-time job, and it being basically an office job where the not the expectation, but the reality of your position is that you're likely going to be at your desk for a majority of your workday. And so having the subsidiary responsibility of also doing photography around the campus, that also has allowed me to move around. And this is a 12-month position that, again, I started in July. So I'll also be able to look forward to that in 2025 and still be able to have that active movement around the campus. I'm still one of the newest people at the school. A lot of the people have been there for 2, 3, 4 years. And so it still gives me a chance to meet the students. It gives me a chance to become more familiar with my coworkers. There's 2 campuses. The more time I spend between both campuses and familiarizing myself with all those people. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of being able to move. I know I want to get a bike within the next year as well and explore I think I'm going to do the Capitol Trail. I want to do the 50-mile bike to Williamsburg. I think that'll also be interesting. And so moving on to motivation, I think it's funny because, I guess it truly is that easy. Motivate, I think having a place is motivation. Being able to say that I can afford my own place and that I found this place by myself. I was able to get my new apartment, get my new job. Obviously, there was some assistance with getting a job and getting the place, but the research and the struggle of those things was something that I had to take care of. And so I think the motivation that keeps me, going to work and not calling off is the ability to keep this place. And then not only this place, but to start having things that I want. I don't enjoy spending money because I feel like I've always been of the mentality that I enjoy having money when I know for sure that I want something. So if I'm able to, or rather, if I come across this something that I want and that I know I want, and I know I have the money, I can just like, okay, boom, it's mine. I think that's a great motivator. And then I think intrinsically, I think I have a set standard for myself. There's a certain way I've always expected myself to think, to act, certain ways to interact with my peers. And I've always felt like in order to do those things, there are certain things about myself and society and things in general that I should be aware of in order to incorporate that into my mindset, to be aware of how the things I say or think might affect people who are in similar positions to me, or better yet, who are going through something completely different to me, but their humanity still makes me look out for them in that way and makes me want to consider, how something makes them think. And so I think motivation, and I think that's also why why I chose to go into public relations, because I felt as though it was a space or an avenue where you really are just trying to, it almost sounded too close to propaganda, but you're really trying to almost reassure people. I think, reassure people that there is, common sense, reassure people that there is thought and consideration in the things that we do. And then finally, I want to say that I really enjoyed learning about sleep. Sleep has been a huge, I think, the one of my lifelong battles, because I just, again, I've always enjoyed staying up late. I've always enjoyed gaming late. I've always enjoyed, going to find the next movie, the next movie, the next movie. I could watch movies all day, almost. If I found quality good ones that I enjoyed, I could watch a movie back to back to back, and into the night sometimes. And then again, going back to nutrition, I think having that balance, doesn't matter if I think it is a fact that having that balanced diet throughout the day, or throughout as often as you feel you need it, will drastically improve your sleep. You get to sleep longer, sleep deeper. You get to recollect and store memories that might have gone away. You get to rejuvenate your cells in a more holistic fashion, because now they're working with those nutrients that they needed in the first place. And so yeah, I've started to edit my sleep style going into the new year. It's funny because just today I told my friend that I would do some all-nighters with them for winter break. But into the new year, again, having that full-time job, I know that pulling all-nighters is not going to be appropriate. Not that that's even something that I've been doing recently. I've actually been going to bed very respectfully recently. But with going into the new year and graduating this Friday, I'll have basically about half the responsibilities. And essentially, outside of work, I'll have no responsibilities. And so I think my evenings are just going to become that much more free, and I'll be able to be sure that I go to bed on time, be sure that I'm eating early, because I'm not caught up doing homework or stressing about doing homework and then not eating or doing homework. Um, there'll be no more homework to do, but day by day, obviously, we've got to replenish our energy, and that comes with all the things that we've learned this semester, but more specifically, the things that I think I really wanted to carry into the next year were the lessons on sleep, the lessons on nutrition. I had to, like, when I saw this assignment, the first thing I thought of was space and place, because again, it was crazy to see how much of a difference having a new place meant to me, mentally and physically and spiritually. Movement, again, being able to do that in my place and space, or both places and spaces, being able to do that both at home and at work, having that opportunity at work to really go through that. And so again, as I said during my midterm assignment, I've very much appreciated this class. It has been an awesome opportunity to speak my mind and ramble and babble and whatnot. But I think we need more classes where people are allowed to just ramble and babble, especially when it comes. I think more assignments should be based on, asking students or asking people, what did you think about what you learned? I think your personal aspect that you enforce into the lessons really makes you internalize what you're learning. You can't do one of these posts without being, just a little bit honest and a little bit open about your experience and your needs and your wants, desires, and your inhibitions and your shortcomings. I think, being able to answer any of these questions requires that kind of honesty, and I think that kind of honesty leads to better communicators, better thinkers, and I would hope that that's what one wants out of higher education, is to become a better communicator and a better thinker, as well as getting a nice job. But nice jobs require communicators and thinkers, and so I thank you for encouraging communication and thinking. So glad to have been able to spend these last 4 years at VCU. I guess 4.5. But actually, no, technically a complete 4. Started in the fall, ended in the fall. So yeah, one more additional semester, but that's okay because it's over now. I beat myself up about it mid-spring when I realized I had to be here for one more semester. But I I think before the summer was even halfway over, I had gotten over it, and I was excited because on the note of procrastination, excuse me, I I definitely wasn't even ready to start thinking about graduation in the spring. When I realized where my head was at in the spring and where it is where it was in the summer and where it is now, I definitely think I'm far more ready to graduate now than I was in the spring, for a multitude of reasons. But again, I thank you for being a part of that journey, for being one of my favorite classes. I will just go ahead and say that, definitely one of my favorite classes. Um, I hope you enjoy your winter break and any successes that come to you in the late year. I appreciate you. I respect you. I love you, and I thank you.